Okay, welcome everyone to a session of Homeschool Hustle. Thank you, Undiscovered, for hosting this conversation on the Next Gen stage. And we are raising the next generation right now, so in the middle of a pandemic, and so this conversation is definitely important for us to talk about. My name is Paloma Concordia. I am the founder of Papa Lowdown Agency, a PR agency based here in the Bay Area. But I started this project called Homeschool Hustle as the pandemic hit us all. And immediately I thought of Chrissy Osada as someone I wanted to talk to about transitioning into this distance learning and crisis learning that we were in, because she had been already homeschooling her children. And I don't know many other Filipinas or women of color or families of color really that homeschool. So Chrissy has always been an inspiration to me in that sense too. And she's also a small business owner. She has a bakery in Benicia, and I'll let her talk about that. And Vicki Abadesco is here as well, joining us from Soul Shop. And she has just also been an amazing mentor for just handling emotions, right? And being like a sounding board for like feeling frustrated with homeschooling, and just amazing work that you've done in the community, Vicki, in our public schools. So I'll let you guys finish introducing yourselves. Chrissy, do you want to go ahead and tell us more about your business and your experience homeschooling?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First, I just wanted to thank you again, Paloma, for inviting me to join this panel discussion. Talking about homeschool is a passion. It's become a passion of mine. And I care very much about the whole process of, just the whole home ed process with my kids. It's like just a whole nother, it's having another baby, really, because there's a learning curve to it. But before I kind of get into that, yes, I do own a bakery. I'm the founder and also the executive pastry chef at WIP. And WIP started in 2013. It kind of I just kind of stumbled upon it, actually. It wasn't something that I really planned to do. But I had realized after several years of baking, just to kind of soothe my soul during my pregnancies and during stress of final exams in college, I started to bake to kind of escape from the stress and the morning sickness, really. And what ended up happening was that people started to know me for my cookies. So it just became a natural step to start a company. And so, so we've been kind of building the bakery business since, has it been 7 years now? And it's just been great. It's been a roller coaster ride for my family and me, but it's not anything I would change or exchange for. And so actually why I started homeschooling was because I was trying to strike a balance between being a public school mom. It's really hard. It's actually more hard for me to be a public school mom or have my kids, send them off to school than it is for me to homeschool. And so that was not the whole reason why I started homeschool, but that was definitely one of the reasons why. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chrissy, for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about Soul Shop and what you do?
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here with you all. I'm Vicki Abadesco, and I am the executive director and one of the co-founders of Soul Shop. Soul Shop's in its 20th year. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. And in these 20 years, we have served over 600,000 young people. So kids and families throughout the San Francisco Bay Area and beyond. And what we do at Soul Shop is we really gather kids in spaces to talk about what it's like for them to be them, who they are. So we talk about feelings, we talk about how to problem solve issues and conflicts. We give them communication skills to talk about their feelings and what they really need from the people in their lives. And as an educator, I'm in my 35th year as an educator. And so I started my career at San Francisco Unified School District. I was a gang prevention and violence prevention specialist. And I really understood, working with secondary students, mostly high school, that high school students really needed those communication and problem solving skills at a much younger age. So we at SoShop mostly work with elementary kids because that is where our social and emotional development occurs. And so again, at SoShop every school year, we work with tens of thousands of kids and families, really giving people the tools and a common language to talk about their feelings.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicki. And my kids have actually gone through SoShop workshops, and we've gotten the bookmarks at home and have used them in our own homes. So I actually think it'd be great time now to, if you could help us, like, you know, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of stress that we're going through, and we're going to continue going through because we're still in a pandemic and there's elections around the corner, and who knows what that's going to stir up in our homes. What is something that we can do? What's a tip, a tool that we can practice right now and take home?
Yeah. So we're going to practice something right now. And here's what I want to say. It's like, again, right, we talk to a lot of families, a lot of parents, and a lot of kids about what they want and what they really need from the adults around them. And so one of the things is that us as adults that we need to remember is, you know, we talk a lot about things like emotional regulation or self-management. And here's what I want to say about that, right? Young people and kids are always going to orient emotionally to the adults they are around. I'm going to say that again.
I know.
I'll say that again. Young people are going to orient themselves emotionally to the adults, any adult that they are with. So as an adult, your emotional being is really, really important. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to take a minute here. And we're just going to regulate ourselves, right? Regulation is really about how do we slow ourselves down enough so we can actually feel what's happening for us. And adults, we really like to tell the kids how they need to be. Calm down, quiet down. Well, we can't fucking calm ourselves down. Sorry. Sorry about that. We have a challenge calming ourselves down, but yet we want to tell young people how they need to be doing it, right? So let's take a moment right now. Everyone take one hand, put it on your heart. And take the other hand, put it on your belly. And just take a moment and can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels good to you. And just notice yourself slowing down just for this 1 minute. Maybe in this 1 minute, you can pull pieces of yourself that have been in other places today and pull those pieces back to you. And maybe in this time, there's something in your physical being or in your emotional being that you can just soften up. Just notice where you might be holding something contracted, hard edge. And can you bring some softness and kindness to yourself in this moment? Let's go ahead and take a breath in and let it out. And you can take another breath in and out. And just open your eyes and come back. And just take that notice and imagine that if you moved through your entire day in this space, and every time that you had to speak to anybody in your world, that you spoke to them from this space.
Thank you, Vicki.
Your voice is so soothing.
Yeah. You know, that was really wonderful. And that was something that I think at the beginning of the pandemic, me and my family, we implemented a circle time in the mornings to start our day. And we would do a breathing exercise like that. And thank you for sharing that with the rest of the people here. If that's something that you don't do yet, you know, try it in the mornings to ground your day, your children's day, your family's day. And yeah, especially if there's moments of frustration, to go back to that, which I will say right now, I need to do better at. We're going to talk more with Vicki later on too about a Peace at Home kit that she's going to show us. But before we get into that, Chrissy, and I guess everyone here, I'm excited to share with you all that me and my family are now going to transition into formal homeschooling starting next month. And we're doing it through our own private homeschool that we created. There's an affidavit you fill out online. It's pretty simple, actually. And so we're going into this homeschooling on our own. And Chrissy, you've already gone through this. What are some tips that you have for me and for anyone else that is not even that is just distance learning, right? In terms of like how to go into this space.
Okay, yeah. So, well, first, congratulations. That's exciting news.
Yeah, we're excited. The kids are so happy.
And that's good that they're happy. When we started, my kids weren't so sure they wanted to do homeschool because they were already in the public school system, and it was just something that my husband and I were more ready for than them, and they just kind of had to buckle up and take the ride. And we had that transition may be easier for you since your kids are all about it and they've already somewhat experienced like the tip of the iceberg with it since you've been distant learning this whole year. And it seems like they enjoy it. They enjoy, being close to you and dad. And so, yeah, this pandemic, like as we were discussing in a previous conversation, it really kind of gave you that leg up, and that's amazing. What you'll find when you do start your homeschool, you won't be subject to the state standards or curriculum that your public school or your current school is imposing upon you. And so that's another freedom that you have. Other families will choose to do not the public school affidavit like you did, but they'll go through a charter, and that's what we've done. So we're in our 4th year of Visions. It's called Visions in Education. It's an academy homeschool that we actually get funding from the state to purchase our curriculum, but we're also kind of subject to the state standards as well, and we still are doing state tests every year. The main difference for me, though, is that I get to choose what curriculum that I work with my kids, and also our schedule is up to us as well. So for me, I think there's a few steps that I would recommend that you would go when you're transitioning to your own homeschool. And number 1 is to get in touch with your values. Like, what value systems do you hold near and dear to your heart, your husband? What value systems do you apply in your family? And even talk to your kids and ask them what's important to them. And then, and it sounds kind of like, I tend to use lists a lot. That tends to help me. So if you bullet point, just kind of like do a brainstorming session with your family and just kind of distill it down to maybe five points that you can say are your values. Like for us, our values are, and it could look like anything, but for us, it's we value critical thinking, creativity, and we kind of distilled it down to C's for us. Community is a big value for us. So what these values, what you kind of frame your values, then it'll help you shape how you're going to move around in your homeschool and what you'll get involved in, and it helps ground you. So that's number one. That's my suggestion. Number two, with curriculum, if you need any assistance with that, I'm here to help. But there are resources out there, and you, like, as a PSA, you'll have a lot more freedom than I do with that. And I'm trying to think some other things transitioning. There are no, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So for us, my kids had to learn not to look for recess and not to raise their hand and things like that. They were used to being, kind of in a formal school setting. And so that was something that we had to kind of unlearn. And as well as me, because I grew up in a public school system, I was used to the kind of, the rapport between the student and the teacher was more like, here, it was coming from the top down. And so I had to kind of transition, like, change my way of thinking and think, instead of thinking like education comes from the top down, it's a learning experience that we can all do together. And again, this is a style. This is a style that I found worked for us. Because when I first started homeschooling, I was trying to do the teacher to pupil method, where I'm putting up lessons and pointing with a pointer stick and doing all this and calling on people. And it just didn't fit for our family. And it actually caused a strain in my relationship with my kids. And so, to kind of like, and I think that's more style. And so you may want to try different approaches and see what works best for you. I kind of, do you guys know who Polsky is from Mind 4? So there's this phrase that's coined, it's always a student, yeah? And so I take that phrase and I hold that to my heart, and I, consider myself, that I'm always a student as well. And that humbles me as not just the homeschool educator, but also as a mother, as a person out in the world. Like I'm always ready to learn and ready to receive feedback and correction. So these are certain things to consider to help you transition for a smoother, happier experience in the homeschool.
Thank you, Chrissy. We've already implemented the values. Like, that was something that we did at the beginning of the pandemic after you and I had first talked, and it really was transformative, because we were teaching them that every week we would focus on a different value. So yeah, I'm excited. And you have a new website or a new project that has a website. That I'll put that in the chat, and it's called Homeschool Recipes, right? So yeah, I'll put it in the chat, but Homeschool Recipes is where you're going to be sharing your homeschooling tips along with actual recipes for your baked goods and amazing meals that you create with your family. So I'm excited. Congrats on launching that. That just launched like in this last few days or something,
yesterday.
Right? Yesterday. Oh my God. Just in time for this panel, you guys.
Yeah.
Vicki, you have something really amazing that Soul Shop has created. And I'm excited to learn more about this because I think we're going to need it.
Yeah. I am going to do that. Yeah, here's the other thing I also just want to say as I'm doing this is that, again, I talk to lots of principals, parents, kids, teachers every day, every week. And I just want to just say that people are really brokenhearted right now. And it is a tough time. And I say that because I know parents can be really, really tough on yourselves. So again, you know, part of our way when we did a little stop and breathe was also about bringing kindness to yourself. So I just want to continue to remind you to be kind. It is a rough time right now. And so it's important, so the more that you can be kind to yourself and give permission to yourself, then actually it'll be easier for you to extend that to your young people, to your family, to the people around you. So kindness. All right, so we have this little Peace at Home kit. And so again, at Soul Shop, we teach all of these tools to help people resolve conflicts. And when families can have a common language and have words to use to say, oops, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? Right? Then something can happen. That's when we build our empathy. We build our resiliency, right? We learn how to repair harm that was done. Right? So one of the tools we have inside of the kit is our Peace Path. And so for anybody who's ever been at a Soul Shop school, you know that this Peace Path is actually stenciled out on the playground, because for us, we want problem solving to be just as popular as Foursquare. So we have a Peace Path for you. With the Peace Path is also comes like little step-by-step way of how to use the Peace Path, which comes in these things that we call peace keys. These have the steps on the Peace Path. Inside the kit as well is a couple of books. One is a book I wrote, which is a compilation of stories of people who've been bullied. And it's got stories from young kids. It's got stories from people in their 70s that still remember when they were bullied as a kid and what we can do. And then we also have a book about our emotional balloons. That's really important for families to learn how to both empty their balloon in a healthy way instead of leaking and hurting each other with our balloon. And there's a few other posters and fun things in this kit. And again, it's really meant to support you all to have a common language and to have some tangible tools with talking about what's going on at home and helping you to problem solve some of those issues.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicki. That's really amazing. I want to read those books for sure. Yeah. You know, that's definitely one area where we can always learn and revisit. Whether or not you are a parent, those are things that we need to continue. We have a few minutes left, and I know folks are asking some questions. Let's see. Carolyn, thanks for joining, Carolyn. For Vicki, with the pandemic's impact of making family and school partnering more amplified, what new curricular leverages do parents have in the general public school context?
Yeah, so I did a quick reply, and I think that, you know, in public schools right now, I mean, I think families really have a great point of leverage right now to really ask teachers what you really want. So again, what is relevant to our students, your students. Also, there's something to be said about style. And so who are we talking to? And so if there are things and ways that you want your teacher to address your students, I think now is a really great time to, again, build that relationship with your teachers and make those bold requests of them. Right. And I'm just also going to say that I think even in this space, student voices are really, really important. I think they're always important, which is the core of why we do our work. And my biggest concern right now from the young people I speak to is they're losing some of their voice in this space. And so how do we provide opportunity for our young people to really say what they need about how they actually want to be taught, whether it's from a teacher or from a parent? Yeah.
Right. I agree. And that was one of the reasons why our family decided to homeschool, is because our kids were saying, like, I don't like Zoom. I don't want to be on here. And, you know, like, we have the privilege of saying, okay, fine, let's just do this at home. And the reason why we didn't go with a charter school is because there were wait lists now. And we're like, well, let's just, you know, we'll do it ourselves. And yeah, who knows what's going to happen. Our kids are only in second and first grade, so I think I can still handle that curriculum. It'll be okay, but yeah, definitely, it's tough right now for everybody. And I think listening to our children and also adapting to, like, what is the best way they learn, right? And even in public school, it's one way. And so I think there's an opportunity for us as parents to really create an environment of learning that fits their
and to understand
style.
what their learning style is. Yeah. And also, I think that it's also important that, right, for folks who are really homeschooling out there, is to make sure that you are also working and staying in close connection with other families, and especially other families of color. Carolyn, I saw your other question there, right? It's like making sure that you are not in isolation, because that isolation's already, right, the pandemic's giving us a layer of that. And so again, right, families are finding like, oh, I'm going to take my family and just homeschool over here, which could add another layer of isolation. And so I just really want to encourage people to continue to find other families and other families of color that, again, you can feel some solidarity with.
Yes, I agree. And one of the misconceptions, at least that from my experience, was that homeschoolers are ostracized or kind of, you know, on their own, isolated. That wasn't our experience. And I think a way to kind of combat that that sort of stereotype or experience itself is to make sure your kids are involved, enroll them in the local music class down the street, or have them join a team sport. Of course, all this is pre-pandemic that I'm speaking, but if you're distant learning now, definitely reach out to that network that is near and dear to you, and kind of build. We're in a time where we're building tribes, and that's what I've been experiencing in 2020, was, you know, building my own tribe. And you know, so just make sure you don't isolate, as Vicki's saying. I'm echoing that. And there's still, I know Zoom is kind of it's a challenge for us. We won't do it. And so we'll, you know, look to your resources, look to your immediate network, and see what skills and talents that your neighbor has, or that your best friend has, and approach them. The worst thing that they could tell you is no, but you can ask, hey, would you consider mentoring my daughter or my son? They're interested in the kind of dance that you do, and, you know, and see where it goes. I think now that everybody has been in shutdown and in this pandemic mode, people are more willing and have time to carve out to help other people. You know, they're not so busy, you know, hustling to work here and there. And that's what I noticed that's kind of the silver lining of this year. I know there's been a lot of pain, a lot of heartache, but the silver lining has been that we've all gotten to ground ourselves in our home and with the people that are around us. And so,
thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Vicki. It looks like our time is up. I feel like we could keep going on, and we will. So I will hopefully continue to do Homeschool Hustle conversations on my own platform, and I'll put that in the chat as well, for you guys to stay in touch. Thank you, Undiscovered. Thank you for all of you that joined this conversation today and joining in the chat. Sorry we couldn't answer everything or respond back to everything. But yeah, let's continue to raise this next generation with love and compassion and respect for each other.
Thanks, Paloma. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. See you at the rest of the event.
Bye.